I think what makes us human isn't being sad or happy all the time. I think what makes us human is that we have individual agency, individual will to improve ourselves. Of course, there are some people who will submit themselves to nature and prefer to be miserable, prefer to suffer the slings and arrows of fate. I mean, that's humanity too as well. There are people like that, and there will be people in the future who prefer that way of living.
A neo-evolution?
What is it? No.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Define that, please.
Neo-evolution?
Evolution, like caveman?
New? Is that a new concept?
A new term.
Because right now, in the last decade or so, we've had more growth in what we are as a species and our culture and our technology than we've had throughout the entire history of the species.
Transhumanism is becoming, it's not yet like visible, I don't think, on the mainstream level, but there are certainly a lot of important people in important places that are aware of it. Not always positively. I can't remember who it was, but somebody has sort of said that transhumanism is the world's most dangerous idea. I don't really know where that comes from, but...
Transhumanism is the enabling philosophy of how do humans go beyond their biological limitations.
I think it means a lot of different things to different people.
For me, transhumanism represents the potential of humankind. I won't say it's our fate, but I think it's been, in a lot of ways, our ambition all along.
Most people, I think, want to be smarter, healthier, live longer, live forever.
I don't think we should focus on the word transhumanism and on the existence of a movement. I think we just need to focus on technologies that are coming, whether we like them or not, and what we should be doing about them in the future.
We have the ability now to take our technologies and integrate them with ourselves, not just sort of surgery and medicine in that form, but like bettering ourselves, making ourselves more durable, less subject to disease, less subject to deterioration, and recognizing that we can take a very active role in our own evolution, and probably have to, otherwise our evolution will stagnate because we're better at changing our environment than our environment is at changing us.
I think it's been going on for a long time. I mean, at some point somebody learned to harness fire and invented the spear, and that and it gave us a lot more leisure time because it made it easier to gather food and improve our health. It's just an extension of a trend that's been going on for as long as humans have been human.
We look at cities and think that this isn't natural, but then we look at an anthill or a beehive and think, well, this is natural. You know, it's in nature, but it's a species that's building that. We're just leveraging our brain power to build what comes natural to us.
I think the future holds greater opportunities for guiding our own evolution by tinkering with our genes. Disease is just something we have to get rid of.
I would say that if the technology in the future is there to diagnose and help people with ailments before they're born, then I don't see why that would be a bad thing. I think that would be fine.
I think anybody would, because nobody would want them to suffer.
And I think everyone would want their child to have as happy a life as possible, but I feel like humanity, its hope is inspired and derived by people overcoming the lot that was cast to them.
If a baby is born with a disability, for example, that is part of the lesson that this person needs to learn in this lifetime.
It's biased though, because we're not on their side. We're completely fine. We're 100% healthy.
God, it's so easy to be all like moral about this without actually having to make the decision about my own child.
Making the choice of like if I want to have kids that would pass something on or not, I don't really want to fuck with that.
I wouldn't do it.
I don't think that that's really like natural.
Doesn't seem natural.
I think the idea that human beings have to live under some natural law or some sort of theological law is quite limiting. I don't think that it's fair to ask someone to suffer. You must die in agony of cancer, you will die of old age, or your child will succumb to leukemia because it's quote-unquote natural.
And we say, you know, if we can remove whatever disease in 100 years, well, we've already removed diseases from some people. Some people had diabetes, they would have died. we gave them insulin or something, and now they're not dying anymore.
I would certainly want to prevent my children from having inheritable diseases. If there was opportunity to give them enhanced capabilities, especially mental capabilities, I would go for that as well.
Like the brain is a new frontier, right? And that is where they're going. And if they can eliminate some brain illnesses, that would be wonderful.
I live happy forever. Like, no diseases, no such things. It's good. But is that possible?
There's been currently a lot of issues, like now we can select out germ cells for the color of hair and eyes. I can see that people would have differences with that, like some people would want trait A or versus trait B.
Yeah, that's too much. Come on now, like these are like desires. It's like buying a dog. I mean, you don't do that with kids. I mean, kids come out the way they are, whether they got giant heads or they got, you know, like skinny little waist. Doesn't matter what they're supposed to look like.
Screening a baby before they're born for ailments, you're really trying to eliminate suffering. I'm not sure that you're accomplishing that in any form by picking traits for a child.
No, that's awful.
But I would try to maximize as much as possible things like intelligence and desirable personality traits, minimize the chances of antisocial traits as well. This way, they will have an easier time in life. To me, that's just a part of being responsible.
I don't think it's a good idea. I think that the things that people see as like undesirable are actually really important.
I feel like I am who I am, not in spite of my faults, but because of my faults.
Yeah, exactly.
If everyone's perfect, how do you ever learn?
The utopian ideal of what a person can be probably isn't what I think a person probably ought to be.
If I could be young forever, how long would I want to live for?
That's hard.
Maybe 77.
Maybe in my late 80s.
I think 80 or 90 would be a great milestone.
Possibly to 80.
I would really like to live probably for about 2,000 or 3,000 years.
Forever.
I want to see how the universe ends. I want to be there when it ends.
To the end of the universe, and then create a new universe and go into that one.
Oh, forever, as long as you could, right?
It's pretty ambitious.
If you look at a lot of the ancient texts, the foundation texts of a lot of major world religions, themes of immortality, they're recurring. They show up all over the place. I do think that they point to a certain desire to be something more than what we are. Especially in the realm of mortality. We've never really known quite how to cope with death.
It's one of the biggest questions of humanity. Like, what happens to you when you die?
The way that they deal with it more often than not now is telling themselves enough times that they're not afraid of dying, that they come to believe it.
Since birth, you're told, or you believe that you're going to die eventually one day.
Death's a part of life, and the next adventure, I think it's gonna come to all of us at some point. I'm aware that it'll happen one day.
Yeah, it sounds strange, but someday I want to die. Yeah.
But then the rationalist way of looking at it often is just to say, well, it is inevitable because it has always happened. But I don't think that that's necessarily that scientific, because just because it's always happened in the past under certain conditions doesn't mean that when conditions change, it will always continue to happen. We are developing so much in medicine and bioengineering that who's to say that death will always be inevitable? But people still have sort of a knee-jerk reaction. They don't like change.
Eventually I'm gonna feel like I've run my course.
I would not ever want to live or be healthy for an infinite amount of time. I think it would degrade and kind of trivialize the entire human experience and just what it means to be human and our place in the world.
If we all live forever, then does it really matter what we have each day? Like, the fact that a rose smells nice is only nice because it's finite, maybe.
Oh, I see what you're getting at. You're getting at the argument that life is sweet because it's short. I disagree with that, because I think life being short is a problem because we don't get to do the things that we want to do. There's always something else that we haven't tried. There's always regrets at the end. Oh, I should have done that when I had the time.
I don't want to live forever. Why not? Because I think there's a better place than planet Earth.
There was a point where I believed that death was actually something that you had to accept, and there was a possibility that there was an afterlife. But then I said, why take the risk? why not try to live longer?
Where people would like back in the day die at 30 and 40 and 50. I think it was part of the whole process of the whole thing. Yeah.
We've already got twice as much as our ancestors did 200 years ago. Let's see, how much more I can push the envelope.
The way technology is going and all these things, I think it might be possible in the near future.
Humanity has always strived to be better, to advance.
Find a way, right?
But at the same time, we're really messing with Mother Nature.
When it comes right down to it, when a person is being told that they have cancer, when they're told that they have that death sentence, when you provide them the option, say, well, there is this advanced technique, there's this experimental technique that we could try, and it is available to you if you want it. Well, most people say yes, because they want to go on living. So the process, life extension becomes medicine as it becomes mainstream, and people don't necessarily notice that process as it's happening. But there are those of us that extrapolate the end point, which is indefinite human lifespan, and that, for some reason, scares people.
It represents such a shift from what people are comfortable with, such a shift from the norm, that fear of the unknown alone causes people to go like, no.
Well, there's a lot of risks. Any technology isn't inherently good or evil.
Ultimately, obviously, it's up to the people who use it to make it what it is.
But by talking about it, we can sound out our feelings for this sort of thing.
So the technology itself, I'm for inventing as much technology as we can invent. Now, how do we deal with it ethically, morally, socially? There's a lot of questions, and we should be careful as we move into them.
I don't think we should say no to a path of new technology because it could inherently have some difficulties or challenges. We just have to bring them up ahead of time.
We might cross the line and not even know it.
I'd rather see some conflict and upheaval and change than stagnation.
I think we have to take some risks in order to make ourselves better.
People are always afraid of change, but change is part of the human condition. Change is something that's been ongoing. It's just going faster now.
Of course, knowing how fast technology moves, it's impossible to say exactly what format it's going to take. It could be something that we can't predict right now.